Yeah, good day, some people all over the world. Today we are coming up with another wonderful program again here at Ego Studio, London, UK. You see, we are into history right now, and like I've always said, we have to write our history ourselves. Because if you don't write your history yourself, others will write nonsense and call it your own history. This is why you see we as Esan people are coming up with our history the way they are and the way they are all accurately. Today we are coming from another dimension. We are talking about the first indigenous church that came to Esanland, founded by Esan people. You see, there are too many things about history that most of us must have to take note of. Today we hear that one Mungo Park founded River Niger that was discovered years, millions of years, that was in existence millions of years before he was ever born. You know why? Because nobody talked about it before Mungo Park came with his cohort. But today, we are saying our history the way they are. That is by the wayside. Today, we are with one of our sons, one of our illustrious sons, that we want to showcase to you. Now, when we talk about churches in Esan, we have the homegrown churches and we have the ones that came from other areas. Now we are talking about our own now. So that's the area we are going to be talking about today. So let me not go too far, as the man himself will know how to introduce himself and tell us much about himself too. Your host, Sunday Ahimare Inegbinose, Ego Studio, London, UK. Please just stay tuned as we move on now. Thank you very much. Yeah, right now, by my side is the honorable man that is hosting us today. And we start by his own self-introduction. Thank you very much as you watch us. Sir, we are so grateful of having you around here on Ego Studio today, sir. And I wanted to start with your own self-introduction, sir. Please give us your self-introduction, sir.
Yeah, by the grace of God, I am Bishop Dr. Samuel Abumere Ikhisemojie, the senior son of late Archbishop Dr. Edwin Ikhisemojie, the founder of Ripso's Triumphant Ministry, who went to be with the Lord on January 1st, 2021. After his demise, I became the presiding bishop of Ripso's Triumphant Ministries here at Uromi with many other branches.
Yeah, you just mentioned that you are the son of Ikhisemojie. Sir, who is Ikhisemojie? Let us have a little picture of who he is, mainly in the area of religion, church and religion, sir.
Yeah, Archbishop Dr. Edwin Ikhisemojie, by the grace of God, is a native of Idunwele Ewu at Esan Central, local government area of Edo State. By the grace of God, he is the general overseer of Ripso's Triumphant Ministry, a ministry that began here at Uromi in the year 1975, when he came all the way from Lagos down to the east, then to Uromi to begin the work of God. Having worked at Lagos International Airport Hotel as one of the managers and receiving the call of God, he had to resign to come squarely to face the work of God here at Uromi in Edo State.
Yeah, you mentioned that he was in Lagos before he got the call. Sir, did he have any other church he worshipped before he founded his own, or how? We want to get a little picture of this area, sir.
Yeah, prior to that time, when he got born again, I think in the year 1968, 69, having grown up at home before leaving for the cities, I think he went to Benin first. But while he was at Idunwele, he was a member of Assemblies of God Church, under the man that brought Assemblies of God to Esanland. That's Reverend Gabriel Oyahilome. Oyahilome actually tutored my father, mentored him. He took my father as one of his sons. And Daddy was always going to his house then, and they were attending the Assemblies of God at Idunwele. Before later, my father, as a young lad looking for greater and better life, had to leave for Benin, where he went to work as a houseboy, before later moving again from Benin to Lagos, where he stayed with his uncle, who is late now. And from there, having started as a boy, then moving into the city, before you know, he had a detour of destiny. He found himself doing the things of the world, and he had friends who also were with him in Lagos. Amos Kingsley, who later died, for God to show my father that he must be separated from those guys to answer the call. So he detoured, and it was that incident of Amos and Kingsley when they were supposed to move to Surulere, to cinema hall, where they always go every weekend to watch cinemas. So suddenly my father began to hear a voice, leave Lagos and go home. Leave Lagos now and go home. The voice was so strong that now this time he was already working at the airport hotel, the Ikeja Airport Hotel, as one of the managers. Then he had to quickly go to the place of work and told his boys, peradventure any of the white directors come around to ask after him, they should tell him he went somewhere urgently. That's how my father traveled all the way from Lagos down to Idunwele, Ewu. While he was there over that weekend, his friends came to pick him. They always go clubbing from Friday into Saturday, but they did not meet him. So both of them, Amos and Kingsley, had to embark on that journey. And on that journey, my daddy would have been the third person. On that journey, they were moving from Ikeja to Surulere to go and watch the cinema. They had an accident. A stationary vehicle, a trailer that was parked that hadn't tail lights at night. An oncoming vehicle dazzled their eyes, and they didn't know the trailer was there. They ran into the trailer and they just died there. They died there. My father would have been the third person because they always carry themselves on the bike, and So the next morning, one of they think they call him Lagos Man or so, Lagos Man, who was also a native of our village there at Idunwele. When he came home, he began to say, "Where is Edwin? Edwin Ikiwu, Edwin Ikiwu, Edwin Ikiwu." My father came out. He said, "What is the problem?" He said, "Oh, Edwin Adams, your friends you left at Lagos, they are dead men. They are dead men. Amos and Kingsley are dead." My father said, "What? What happened?" They said they had an accident and they died. My father began to say, "Oh, he would have been the third person." Oh. He said, "People in Lagos are crying because they thought you died with them." He said, "I just had a voice to come home and I came." So from that encounter, God began to tell my father, he said, "For the purpose of you doing my work, have I called you away from those guys to separate you? Are you ready to serve me? Are you ready to do my work?" My father said, he began to say, "Yes, Lord, I surrender. Yes, Lord, I surrender to you. Yes, Lord, I surrender to you." That's how my father answered the call. He went back to Lagos, and he said when he got to Lagos, people thought they were seeing a spirit because actually they were inseparable friends. So they thought they all died together. So when they saw him, they began to say, oh, thank God, you did not die. Your two friends are dead, but we thank God for you. We thank God for you. So all over the area he was staying there at Anifowoshe, Ikeja, it was a gog with celebration that, Edwin did not die. Edwin did not die. Though the pain of the death of his friends was so painful to other people, but they were thanking God that Edwin did not die, because my father was a very friendly person and social person in the community then at Lagos. That's how God separated my father, and squarely he answered the call. That's how he resigned from being a manager at the airport hotel Ikeja to answer the call. Then he now enrolled in a Bible school there at Lagos. It was there at Lagos he met Pa Emesim, who is from the East. He now enrolled in his Bible school and the Hour of Deliverance Bible College, HOD. So from there, having graduated, my father now opened the Assemblies of God. My father was the one that opened the Assemblies of God at Surulere. That has become a very gigantic church today. It was opened by my father. After graduating from school, and he went to Assemblies of God to worship, they sent them on evangelistic outreach, preach and open branches. He was the one that opened that Assemblies of God. Let that be on record also.
Yeah, thank you very much. Wow, what a great man. And now let us now come back to Esanland. When your father came to establish this RIFSU, was there any church in Esanland that was founded by Esan person before your father came in Esanland, sir?
Yeah, by the grace of God, to the best of my knowledge, there was no church like that founded by any Esan person. The churches that was here when my father arrived this land in 1975 was the Orthodox churches. We talk about the CMS, which is, of course, the Anglican and all of that. You have the Catholic, you had Assemblies of God, you had Church of God Mission, who was almost packing away. I think the one Reverend Okeke, that was the Reverend then, was about even packing away, was so discouraged. It was the coming of my father that encouraged him to remain in the land. Daddy telling him, I've come so that the work of God might thrive in this land. There was no other known Esan person that was operating a church outside a church brought from other cities into Esanland.
I think by your statement now, you are making it clear that your father was the first Esan man to have a church established here in Esanland. Am I right, sir?
Yes, by the grace of God, that is so. Because most of the Pentecostal churches you are seeing today, other churches, they're either my father's product or product of my father's product or product of my father's products.
Yeah, that is wonderful. I think at this junction, I would have liked you to mention one or two mentors or people that were mentored by your father that we can point at least as evidence to corroborate what you are saying here now, sir.
Pastors here in the land, we have people like Bishop Antonio Kosun today, who, though he's not a general overseer of his church, but he's an archbishop of Esanland today by the grace of God. He used to say when my father was alive that those days my father was preaching, they used to play football, watching him do crusades. They would stand on the fence, they are watching, and it was one of his crusades that actually attracted him to give his life to Christ. People like Bishop Matthew Okpewolo, who later was one of the bishops here, the Esan district, Presbytery Bishop of Church of God Mission, who was a member of the Aladura. It's a product of my father's ministry. You have people like Reverend Godfrey Iyoha, people like Reverend Aloma, that's Joseph Iyoha, it's also called Aloma, and many of them like that I may not readily be able. And there are others in the cities. And I also want to point that although this is not from Esan, CPM, Christian Pentecostal Mission, late Reverend Dr. Ezekiel, is a product of my father's outreach and ministry. CPM is a very massive ministry globally. It's the product of my father's outreach and ministry.
Yeah, from that short picture, I can actually see that your father is an old timer, one of the earliest person that actually established church. Because the people we are talking about now, I'm sure, were men that started their gospel maybe in the 70s or thereabout. Okay, that's wonderful. Now, sir, we now come to you right now. Sir, how was your growing up like?
Yes, my growing up was very, very pleasant under the leadership of my father. My father was a very upright Christian whose life you look at and you say, this is not a man who preaches do what I do, do what I say, not what I do. He's a man who always tells his congregation, do what I say, because what you see me do and say is what Christ taught us. His life was that of a pragmatic Christian and a man of God, not a man of God who preaches and behind the scene is doing something different. So growing up under him, I was well brought up under Christ. But at a point when I was now left alone to go into the university and all of that, our peer group friends who wanted to sway us away, though I was not a member of any cult. I never drank, I never smoked. But when you talk about, later I had a girlfriend, yes, I had a girlfriend. What was the plan of that and purpose? To marry early, like my father married early, so that before I get to 50, my children are already grown up and all of that. So that was the reason we entered into all of that. But I was never a cultist or any of that. I grew up under the tutelage of my father because my name is Samuel. The reason I'm called Samuel, before I was born, my father already had 2 girls, and he said, "Oh Lord, if you give him a son, I will call him Samuel. And the way Hannah gave Samuel to you, so also I will do. I will give him to you as a sacrifice." And actually, when I was born, Daddy was in crusades. I was born in the year 1971, October 21st, 1971. So immediately I was born, when my father came from the crusade, he was told his wife had delivered. So getting to the hospital, the nurse was, "Guess what your wife gave birth to?" My father said, "A boy," of course, because I asked him of the Lord, and his name shall be called Samuel. So that's how I was given to God. Growing up, even if I wanted to swear on my own, because God had consumed the sacrifice, he that took the sacrifice and accepted the seed made sure my life was secured in him. And today, by the grace of God, I'm doing his work.
That's a very wonderful explanation. Thank you very much for that. Now, let us now take a look at the church now. Like you said, it was founded in the early 70s. How has it been between then and now? I'm talking about how well has it spread and all that, sir?
Yeah, by the grace of God, when we came to the land, there were no other Pentecostal churches, indigenous ones, apart from churches who had their headquarters at the cities or abroad, bringing down their branches here. So the coming of my father and our ministry into the land, when my father came in 1975, he was told by one later, Mr. Okupa, then, he was the first Christian my father met, a member of CMS and I think a Catholic too. My father told him God is sending him to Esanland to commence his work. So the man said to him, he said, young man, if you are coming to Uromi, especially and in Esanland, be careful of what you preach, because the land was full of cultism. Ogboni was having sway. Then he told my father about a particular tree, Ukbohia. He told my father about the history of Ukbohia, how the leaves never falls to the ground. Attempts to cut it down never succeeded. If you try to cut it down, they've come back the next day, it stands again. And that was the headquarters of the covens in Esanland. And my father said, he told the man, he said, Ukbohia is not the owner of the community. God is the owner of the community. And to prove that God sent him to Uromi, that tree will catch fire and burn down. So having told the man that, the man said, okay, let's watch and see. So my father, having told him publicly, had to go into prayers, fasting and prayers. So they were praying and doing crusades when at midnight, during a major downpour of rains, that the tree caught fire. My father said he told God, you're going to do for me three things. Number one, Ukbohia, let it catch fire and burn down, and let the coven of witches, let it be destroyed, and let there be progress in the whole of Esan, beginning with Uromi. And again, let the name Ogboni Street be changed. And again, let there be massive salvation of souls by the destruction of that Ukbohia and the burning down of the coven. Actually, what my father asked for was done in the year 1975. My father said, he said to God, to prove to me that Uromi is the base you sent me, let Ukbohia burn down, let Ogboni Street be renamed. And actually, Ukbohia caught fire, it burned down, and people began to shout, Adala Tolu, Adatolu, Adatolu. And again, the name Ogboni Street was changed. The street was changed to Mary the Queen Street, and that's what it is named today. So those evidences confirmed to my father that he was sent to have his base at Uromi amongst other communities in Esanland. He was sent to Uromi, and ever since there has been massive progress. If you watch the communities of Esan, the 5 local governments, I don't think there is anyone developing like Uromi that has no government input per se, and no universities and others, but the land is developing. Go around Uromi and see what's happening, sir. It's so amazing. A man stood. I remember years ago operating in Esanland. Every last Friday of the month, Papa will gather all the branches. We march around at midnight, praying around in all the TT junctions and crossroads, praying and conducting deliverances. When people see what is happening today, they don't know where it's coming from. A man stood to pay the price, clear the spiritual forest for other churches now to begin to come and thrive. Then our church was a major Pentecostal church where we are doing our convention. Everywhere is jam-packed. Benin, everywhere. Not now that you have proliferation of churches. No, churches just come now, they easily succeed. They don't know who paid the price, who bulldozed the forest. Then it was not so. There are people that come to open churches, they don't go back alive, or they will run and, they don't stay. They don't stay because the level of spiritual darkness, Bible says there was gross darkness upon the land, gross darkness upon the people. That could be said about the land of Esan, especially Uromi. But today, look at Esanland, look at what God is doing, beginning from Uromi, where my father operated, to the glory of God.
That was a very beautiful one. Now, we are at the headquarters of the church here in Okene Road now. Was the church established here from the beginning, or how did you guys get to this place?
Okay, when we landed at Uromi, I was still a little boy then. My father came here in 1975. I was about I'm 4 years old or thereabouts. I was born in 1971 by the grace of God. Then my two sisters were already there. When we came, we were first of all at what they call this community where you have the Uromi near government school. That Egware area, that Odigwele. Yes, that was a house owned by Mr. Oziegbe. It was a filling station. Yeah, we started there as a prayer ground before we moved over to Convent Road. When we were at that Odigwele, we were operating as All Revival Christian Center and interdenominational prayer center. It was when we now moved to Convent Road, a place that Alberto Koji gave my father for church. That's where Ripsos actually started as Ripsos Harvest Ministry. That's where we actually now started as a church, 1975. We started as a church.
From then?
Then from there, we moved to Oyomo Road. We now moved to Oyomo Road. We're having a church where you now have a former Crown Prince Hotel now. There's a hotel there now, close to that place. This man had his fish, this thing was IKD, had fish after we left there. It was a wooden place. My father was like, this place is given to us on lease. Tomorrow, so that's how my father began to go into research and discover this place at Ohen Road. It was a thick forest. So he had to sell the church bus he had then, having come from America and all of that. That was this brand new church bus we had. They were like, don't sell it. Well, he says, it's better we have a place we call our own than we are tenants in another man's property. So Papa put that bus on sale, gathered some money, and came to this place at Ohen Road and bought this massive land. So the process of time, we now moved away from Convent Road and we came to our place now. That's our international headquarters by the grace of God. A massive land, though people encroached in part of the land, but a massive land still abounds for the work of God here.
Wow, that's wonderful. The ministry started from Odigole down to Covent Road, down to Oyomo Road, and finally now here in Okene Road. That is wonderful. Now, if I may want to ask now, what actually are the things you missed about your father that much?
Yeah, what I missed about my father that much, my father was a very, very loving personality, a man that is, you can see him at any time, reach him at any time. He was a man who was evangelistic in nature, into crusades and all of that. In short, he was the apostle of God to Esanland, where places that people will not go for crusades, my father will go there. Despite the fact he studied in America under Maurice Cerullo and others and had opportunity to open this ministry and relocate to the cities, he always told people who wanted him to come to the city to station the headquarters. He said, the God of the rural area is the God of the city. If everybody leaves the rural area for the city, who will man the rural area? Somebody must stand as an apostle of God to hold this land while you people are holding the city. Idausa is holding Benin City and have to be here. And I also want to, for record's sake, Archbishop Idausa Bensini Idausa of blessed memory is one of the strong men that God also used to make sure my father came to Esanland on time. Idausa will always, Archbishop Idausa, Papa Idausa, will always tell my dad, together with the white man, Pa Elton, who also influenced the ministry of Papa Idausa, connected him to these foreign people that also led to the fast growth of Church of God Mission. They always tell my dad, what are you still doing at the East? Because my father and his team were those that went to the East to revive the East after the then civil war, Nigerian Biafra. So they were the one that were sent for missionary work at the East, based at Aguleri. Dausa said, if you don't leave the East in honor, you will leave the East in disgrace. So it is time you come home. Come and help us in Bende State. So that's how my father, actually now came to Uromi to really start the work. I really miss him. He was a man who loved people, he believed in people, he never despised anybody, never looked down on anybody. He was a man who tells the truth. When he died, people are still saying it today. Oh, Otemwatari, There can never be a man of God who stands, he tells the truth. He doesn't mind whose horse is God. He speaks the truth in favor of God. And later people will later meet him, man of God, out of everybody that spoke that day. You are the one that spoke the truth. And one thing also notable about my father, when there is drought in the land, no rain for 1 year, no rain for a year plus, they'll come to him, man of God, Papa, no rain. We say, don't worry, my God is the God of rains. He will give us rain. He will pray. That same day he prayed, or the following day, the rains will fall. I remember a scenario at Esanland when we went for crusade. They said, for us to know you're a man sent from God, for over 1 year, there's not been rain at Esanland. Man of God, you have to pray to your God to help us. By this we shall know that God actually sent us to here. Pastors have been coming, men of God have been coming for crusade, but no rain. My father told them, he said, by the time I'm dropping the microphone after the third day of the crusade, the rain will come down. The rain will fall heavily. Make sure all of you prepare your vessels to gather water. You see, at that Esanland crusade, my dad, having told them this, and he prayed on the last day of the crusade, as he was after having led people to Christ en masse, as he was about dropping the mic, he said, you ask the Lord for rain, okay, get ready now. As he was praying, sir, Papa was still praying. The cloud was changing. Suddenly there was this boisterous wind started blowing up people things. Daddy said to me, he said, because I've always been there for him during crusades. I'm the one that connects instruments. I was the keyboardist of the ministry till I even became the bishop. I've always been an instrumentalist. He said to me, he said, son, let the team begin to disconnect the instrument, because the rain is coming. It's going to rain cat and dog. And that's how it was, sir. Till today, the people of Esanland will tell you there was a man that came. As Papa was dropping the mic, sir, the heavens opened. It was a heavy downpour. They began to say, this is truly a man of God. And churches has it as testimony. After the crusade, which ended on Friday night, because we always begin on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Sir, on Sunday, churches all over Esanland were full of souls. People that gave their life to Christ and who had the encounter of the rains, and they gave their life. Some of them are pastors today. When we meet during our state PFN meetings in Edo State, they always tell me, your father and that rain. My church is full today because of that, your father's crusade and all of that. So I miss Papa with all of that. Even here at Uromi, at times he'll go to council feed for program. They'll tell him, man of God, rain has not fallen. No. Papa will pray, sir, the next day, heavy rains will come down. It was notable for that in the land. And beyond the land, sir.
Thank you very much for that, bros. Now, this is a church, and I discovered that very many churches have other community responsibilities like building of schools, event centers, and other things. Do you have other things like that too under your ministry too?
Yeah, by the grace of God, we're operating a school. It was known as Good News Learning Center, and later we had a secondary school, which was also called Good News and Joyce Learning Center. So practically over half of the students were on my father's scholarship. Over half of the students, and there were many. I think I have the photo whether here or in the library. There were so many that, oh my God, during holidays, you need to pay teachers because there was nobody partnering with my father to fund the school. The weight became so much. And also coupled with the erosion that was coming from other streets to ravage the place, we had to put the school on hold, close it at that time. But before my father passed on to glory, he took me to a parcel of land in the compound. He said, son, this is where the school has to be built. It's going to be a two-story massive building. Make sure the school comes back and the school will continue. Yes, we do. And also, by the grace of God, we are building a cathedral for the children's church, which will also double as the event center to also provide facility for people to have events. Like after the weddings here, they go there for the events, and it's going to be on discount by the grace of God, so that we can use that to take care of those who are under Archbishop Ikhisemojie Memorial Foundation. There we have orphans and the widows and needy. We reach out to taking care of them. So these are also projects that are bound up for now.
Thank you very much for that. Now, this is a general question now. Looking at the society now, you discover that the moral decadence that's happening in the society now is on the high side. So, as a man of God, how do you feel about this, and what do you think should be done to at least reduce it, knowing that it cannot be stopped altogether, sir?
So all that is happening now should not be a surprise to any of us. Especially to me, it's not a surprise because the word of God has already made it known that in the last days, the love of many shall wax cold. Men shall be lovers of themselves rather than of God or the things of God. So scriptures are being fulfilled in our very, very eyes. You see, he said, even the first shall become last, and all of that. And there will be a lot of turning away from the faith, and all of that. And you also discover that the moral decadence is so high. The devil is not asleep. The devil has said he's not the only one that will go to hell. So he knows that his days are numbered, and the time is very, very near for judgment. So he's doing his best to win souls into his kingdom and all of that. So what the church needs to do is to intensify in our outreaches and in our messages of holiness, righteousness. We should not be preaching messages only on money, money, money. Money is good. Prosperity is good. Because the word of God tells us, God says, he said, true prosperity shall his work spread abroad. So it's very important. The chairs in church, we buy them with money. We go on social media to broadcast. It costs money. We take care of the needy. It costs money. All of these things cost money. So the place of prosperity is intact, but that should not be preached above righteousness, holiness. Then we should be able to also be involved in outreach like Jesus, who went outside the sanctuary to also reach out. We are not to practice stay ye, but we are to do go ye into all the world and preach the gospel. We will keep doing our best as men of God who are truly called by God. This work we are doing now, some also have joined who are not truly called. They just entered, they just came in. You now see some say native doctors are now wearing suits and they are on the altar. But those of us that know God actually has called us to do his work, we should do it and let the world see Christ in us and not seeing the world in what we are doing. Otherwise, we cannot differentiate between the two. People should go to church and know it was church I went to, not a place that looks like a club. With that, I think we'll be able to do our best in bringing them from darkness into light, sir.
Yeah, there is nobody, no matter how strong, that don't have challenges. So, what are the challenges right now that are kind of pressing to you and your ministry that you feel that should be, if there are assistances that you would require some, sir?
Yes, sir. We've been operating from the rural area. It's not easy for the water to climb the hill. It's easier to flow from the hill downward. We need partners. We need partners. We need people that should come and help us financially and all of that, all of that, so that those who come to church as those who have needs and all of that, their needs could be met. I want to go into crusade again the way my father was doing. The equipment used by my father those days, they are now obsolete. So we need money to buy evangelistic equipment in order to be going out for outreaches, crusades, really massive crusades to win souls to the kingdom. And in the process, you see people who are orphans, people who are the needy, who are the widows indeed. They look out to the church or to the man of God for help. So we need people to help us. We need people to help us. It's not really easy. We need people to help us. If you watch the church now, there are some churches that are being sponsored by people you call Yahoo. But as a true church of God, I don't look that way. I solely depend on God, and as I preach to the people that God should bless them, bless the works of their hands. To trust that as God is blessing them, they should reach out into the work, which of course they have been trying, but we need more partners abroad, wherever they are, sons and daughters of Esanland. You see, our prayers for you from here is actually working for you. Those days, it was not easy to travel down from abroad and come. You trust you will not be able to go back because of the activities of witches and wizards. But this ministry, Ripso Strong Farm Ministry under Archbishop Ikhisemojie, was able to pay the price to make sure that all of those nonsense don't happen to people. Deliverances and all of that, breaking yoke, breaking curses, going to junctions, conducting deliverances and all of that, entering communities, forces that would have been dealing with people in the cities, abroad, and all of them would deal with those forces and bring them to their knees. So when people are succeeding out there, at times they don't even know what to do with their money. So we are available for your money to reach out to, for us to do the work of God He has called us to do, so that we can liberate more souls. And when souls are liberated from darkness into light, there will be lesser wickedness and evil in the land and in our nation. God bless you.
What a wonderful one. Now, the final one now is I want to talk to some people all over the world. Just whatever you feel is in your mind, talk to them, speak to them, and all that. But this time, use Esan language. At least you should know you understand Esan language, because the way you flow in English, make it appear as if you don't understand Esan language at all. Please start doing that in Esan language this time now.
Esan, oye, iwoke Sunday sema wabulu jivare aye keke wagbonrebe josombla gawa jo wagbonrebe lemi ona gbona so snobla no eji mare aye snobla one ma be ni one ba be ni oze adamie eji keke ni we ye ni snobla me omon bo ji we ye we kere wetun ohun we ni megwa meta ma wa that we no snobla no mo wo bo awo snobla oluro odalo. Because Mareva won almost 50 years in ya, almost 50 years, about 48 years or thereabouts. Where they carry some madomi evo toisan or you bomione through the ministry now some bla mo abame obono ye mo ni kele obono nubo abame that bari wane ye kame ho nya mie ekoni iwono some bla na ma evono some bla mata o yebare mi efwa no so no bla. Emi atamawa nwea ejiba ye keke wa mama musa no bla so bla o ikohun nevi rebe wa jamie agwa ne wo nelu emi ebe adati o he sanbolo na eye wa jar onefo na so bla ke mu buvare o to isan atun ohun bi rebe wa jimare kai ata molemo iyen manye keke wa ja mo ofen mu yen no sema because ege okike igwezo okerebe no do de wanyo nagbona kima do wa nagbona beja televisa no do de adu kino so fo opano maki yire ori ariwo na cho snobla rivo no gemi rebe no ge malu rebe kokori we joye so marialu ejima yi keke waji ofo snobla anema and we are here oje working or haimo working or the family can working or agbebu can working make sure or temwata or working even a me in your dia tale bejo dia wo yen bejo keke no na re wo yen chora no de nyenye ina bogbele because evie ne vie bus no bla or wina me ozo wada kirenya yo ayeto wa voto esenya ke o ayeto si 100 years and above the when we you mi pan biere ne bo keke ne re chi me elders we just a community nya and elders dagbare elders in the kiware we kere young boy of 50 something years 40 something years they work elders of community bezeli na kire mi ayami ewo ne temwata ewo viebus nobla osombla we kere onevina inyo keke no redia but la mude ba mi go renele o mi we connection o eze da bione mwata go na mi osombla bo ria ihe amira no sabo fi ode no majma temwata amanyi nye no gbale no so mbla sabo amudi ama no akhon ma cause eyan ne sema ebumi mabalen le son blanlen ya ne sema ma ne romo on romo ke ase warwe wa bulu wo ke sai oye.
That was a very beautiful one. Thank you very much, my bishop. So with that, we've come to the end of the interview session, and I think you must have picked one or two things from this wonderful interview. One, that Bishop or Archbishop Ikhisemojie was the first Esan man to establish any church in Esanland. That is Indigenous church. So let it be in your history book. Do not dispute it. Nobody has had any other opposing view to this fact. You see, we have to say our history ourselves. Otherwise, others will write nonsense and call it our history. And I'm sure that you've heard from the man of God too. He has told you that Esan people are known for honesty anywhere they are. That wherever you are, you must be honest as Esan person. That your name must not be mentioned where crimes are committed. Esan people are known for their uprightness, truthfulness, and all that. So based on that, please, Esan people, take it as serious as possible. So we've come to the end of today's interview session, and you've heard that he said there is an event center here, school here, and all that. So tomorrow you are doing a wedding, whatever you want to do, there's a space available for you, and at a discount price. You know, good deal. So that is how it is going to be. So on that note, we've come to the end of the interview session. Once again, my bishop, we are so happy for granting us this wonderful privilege to be with you here in your church. So thank you very much. Your host, Sunday Ahimare Inebiduse, Ego TV, London, UK. See you next week again. Thank you very much.